Hello. I want to talk about finding the focus for a soul retrieval. Soul retrieval is covered in the Psychopomp chapter and entering Hekate's cave. In the Coven, we do it on the Aquarius New Moon each year, so around embark time. One of the things I've noticed, and I've been teaching soul retrieval for over 6 years now online, and all of the soul retrievals I've experienced myself, that the themes are fluid and evolve over time. I'll say that if you are new to soul retrieval and just getting started, you may land on part of you that has a specific age. Something happened to you that was traumatic at a certain point in your life, and a piece of you took flight and sought refuge. The way I teach it and experience it, the refuge is in Hekate's cave, which is a place of safety and protection. But over time, the themes evolve. And I also want to talk about patterning. So it may not be that you want to retrieve or that you are called to retrieve a specific age or a specific event, something that happened and a piece of you took flight. It may be a pattern that has resulted in cumulative soul flight or soul loss. So the pieces aren't really lost, they're kind of in storage, right? So I don't really like the phrase soul loss. For me, as I've been kind of circulating around, having been doing soul retrievals for over a decade now, what do I have left to retrieve? I feel like I've achieved a lot of wholeness. I'm living my most magical life. I'm very happy and content in most ways. For me, what's emerged, and again, this comes through dreams and noticing what really irks you. As you are entering into the energy of a soul retrieval, period, pay attention to what pisses you off. That's probably the key. So something that's really pissing me off are when people say things I consider to be really naive and that they just don't understand how the world works. And this, normally, I have a lot of compassion and it doesn't really bug me, but I'm like, for the last few weeks, this has really been getting on my nerves. So I'm like, what is that, Cindy? Why is that bothering you so much? These people don't know any better. It's not their fault. But then I landed on it. It's the pattern in my own life when I have been naive and there have been consequences that have very much been to my detriment. So I think for me, being naive is different than being ignorant. Being naive is you don't know any better. You made the best choice you could at the time, and this is the story, right? Being ignorant to me is there is a way I could have done better, but I chose to avoid the better path. Hope that makes sense. I made decisions when I was 18 that set the course for my whole life. My life is good now. I love it, but I was in an abusive, horrible relationship for over a decade. And no, it's not my fault that the abuse happened. But 18-year-old Cindy was very naive. And then I look at 30-year-old Cindy, still pretty naive. 40-year-old Cindy, veering more into ignorant. Should have known better. Life had taught me a bunch of lessons, and I was ignoring them. I mean, going back in time is not going to change the consequences, but for me, for this soul retrieval, It's about honoring all those Cindy's that made those really bad decisions out of naivete and perhaps ignorance. Hindsight typically is 2020. I don't want to be too harsh on those Cindy's. I want to send them a lot of love and respect for trying to do the best they could. But at the same time, I want to reclaim all those bad decisions too. And say no more. I don't want to make those bad decisions anymore. I don't think I have been making those bad decisions for the past 10 years. But there's so much more to learn. Because for me, as I peer into the coming rebirth period, what I really want to be reborn with is as the wise one. I want to have wisdom. Wisdom that is compassionate and kind. Wisdom that says, take care of yourself, Cindy. Stop doing things that aren't conducive to your own well-being. And again, I've made so much progress in all of these, but to me, as a devotee of Hekate, as someone who is serious about the practice of spiritual witchcraft, the journey is to know myself and to be better. And so for me, for this soul retrieval, I am going to focus on reclaiming all those times I was just too naive, giving all those Cindy's some love, and reclaiming bad decisions with the idea of transmuting them into wisdom going forward. We're doing the transmutation Recupero spell bags coming up, and I can see a trajectory for my magical and spiritual, well, to me they're one and the same, practice throughout the next season. However you are associating with soul retrieval, do what is right for you, of course. Like I said, it may be an age, it may be a pattern, but let it be about you. Don't give power to the people who caused you harm. Don't blame other people for things. Yes, they're at fault. Yes, but put yourself in the center of the frame. Call your power back to you. Move away from letting other people control you. And always, hail Hekate, the Great Psychopomp, the Soul Guide.